I think I might know you. You probably are pretty good at what you do. You probably look back to your profession and your career and say, you know what, I've done really well. And I also know that you might want more. You might want to leverage your assets and leverage your time better and maybe just generate more income for you, for your family, for your addictions, for your interests, but you're not sure how to do that. In today's episode, I want to share with you 2 ways to look at growing your business. One way is the most common way. We're not going to spend a lot of time on that. The second way is something that's a little bit more uncommon, counterintuitive, but I think it'll really help you. Glad you're with me today. Hey everybody, Bill Caskey back, Bill Caskey Podcast. I'm really glad you're here today. This episode brought to you by, that sounds strange since I'm going to promote something that's free, but it's called the $1 Million Seller. It's a checklist that we created here in the past couple of weeks. I've taken all of the content that I've done for my clients over the last year. I do this about this time of year, and I've put it into a checklist format. There's 15 or so items, elements, strategies that I think if you're really wanting to grow, which this episode is about today, make sure you go. The link is in the show notes. You can go to billcaskey.com/checklist, and there's 3 of them there. I would get this one if you're a professional salesperson and want to really grow your business. $1 Million Seller checklist. So when a company comes to me or an individual comes to me and they kind of portray their situation as I did in the front, which is where they say, I want more. I'm good at what I do. I don't need to know how to tie my tie or buckle my belt or tie my shoes. I'm pretty good. I'm advanced beyond that, but I'm not sure how to get to the next level, whatever that is. And I want to share with you something today that I have been working on and continue to work on. In fact, it's going to be a part of all of our programs going forward. And bits and pieces have been already. And that's what I will call the 2 dimensions of achievement. There are 2 dimensions of selling, results, achievement. And dimension 1 is the more traditional, how do I make a call? What do I say during the first call? How do I master that initial conversation? Which, again, this is all important stuff. Dimension 1 is everything that how you conduct yourself in the sales process. How many times do you show up? What is your, how many cold calls are you making? And what are you saying on those calls? And, are you doing networking events? All those things. And I think they're important, but that's only one dimension. And it's our Western way of looking at only the external and not the internal. I was talking with a friend of mine, Vince Freeman, the other day, and we had coffee and we're talking about a project we're working on. And he said, you said something years ago that has really stuck with me. You can't change the outside until you change the inside. Now, I don't know if I said that. I'll take credit for it, but a lot of people have said that. That's not a Bill Caskey proprietary. But it's true, is we want to change what's on the outside. We want to change our results, and yet we don't really want to look at the inside. We only want to look at how many calls I make, what do I say, and all those things. So that's dimension 1, is everything out front. Dan Sullivan might call it the front stage or on stage. It's when you're out in front of people, how you conduct yourself. And that's where most sales coaching and training goes, isn't it? I mean, that's where almost it all goes. How do I handle a question? I saw a guy the other day on Twitter talk about the tie down. The tie down? Are we still talking about how to tie the customer down? I mean, I know it's not physically tie them down, but it kind of is. What are we going to say to get them to buy? That's just so old. It's just BS. Does it work? I don't know. How do you feel about yourself when you do the tie down on somebody? Feel good about yourself? Does a customer feel good about being tied down? Oh, they don't know. They don't know, Bill. Oh, okay, really? They don't have a sixth sense at all. You take your you take your prospect for an idiot. They don't know what you're doing to them when you do tie downs. But that's all the stuff we've been trained to do, is all the first dimension stuff. Now, I don't teach tie downs. If you ever work with me, You're not going to learn any tie downs. I believe Dimension 1 is about creating the environment between you and another person where they are safe and comfortable telling you what's really going on. They're willing to answer questions from you about things that they're struggling with that they may not even know they're struggling with. We've talked about the iceberg theory a lot, that when someone comes to you, all they can tell you is what's above the water, what they're struggling with. Fact is that there's a lot more they're struggling with underneath the water that they're not even aware of. So that's up to you on the Dimension 1 to understand that. So traditional training, traditional coaching, all focuses on Dimension 1. But let's talk about Dimension 2. Dimension 2 is everything that happens inside of us. I was giving a talk a couple days ago to a group of business brokers, we'll call them. They're in a specific niche, doesn't matter. And these are all pretty high achievers. And we started talking about the inside game, Dimension 2, which is the emotional state of being and the mental state of being. And I'm going to give you 3 things here that I think will help you wrap your arms around that. And at the end, when I asked them what they learned, all of them learned that. That's what they took away is, I'm pretty good at the external stuff, but I need work on the internal stuff because I still get anxious. I still get afraid. I still get bewildered on some things that happen. I feel like I'm not accomplishing enough, and then I resort to more behavior. This is a concept that a lot more people are talking about now. Now, it could be because I'm bringing it up, but that's okay. If I bring up 10 things and 8 of the things are around this and that's what they like, then that's what we're going to talk about today. So let's talk about Dimension 2 for you. There's a couple things I want to share with you today. Number 1 is the idea of planning your future is part of Dimension 2. I heard Deion Sanders, who coaches, and he's, a hot wire for controversy, and you might love him and you might hate him, but sometimes he says some things that I think are quite useful. And he had a team meeting, and I don't know how much of it was staged, but it seemed like it was real. And he said, he starts pointing out people in the crowd, some of his players, and said, "What's your plan? What's your plan? When you graduate from here, what's your plan?" And everybody he asked was stone silent. None of them had any plan, which is not unusual. It's not a Colorado football thing. Most of us, if I were to pick you out of a crowd and say, "Hey, look, tell me what you want and what's your plan to get there," you might struggle a little bit. But master planning is really critical, and it's something you do in the quiet of your home or in your office, your study. It's that idea of getting out from the inside and putting it onto paper, documenting it. If you can't document it, it's not real. You can have dreams of being $1 million producer or $1 million income earner. Okay, that's good. Dreaming about it's better than not. But then how does it make its way to your life? How does it make its way to decisions you make? And probably the way it makes its way to that is through the written word. Something is written down. It could even be a Google Doc. It could be a mind map. It could be something like this. We do a lot of these one-pagers in our company where we say, what's the plan for this launch? And if I can get it all on one page, that's a plus. So master planning is one of those things. And what do I mean by master planning? I think I need, and again, I'm talking to myself here too, so this is not me on the Sermon on the Mount. This is 3 plans. Number 1, a longer-term plan, 3 to 5 years. 3 to 5 years out, life vision. Where do you want your life to be? Where do you want your income to be? Who do you want to surround yourself with? What does your vacations, adventures look like? Just bucket list stuff, 3 to 5 years out. Then you need a 1-year plan, which is, what am I going to accomplish in the next year? These are typically business-related things. It could be personal. They can all work together. But in business, it's who are my strategic partners, or who do I want them to be? What kind of income do I want to earn? What's my personal brand strategy like? We're actually going to be doing a 2024 business planning session. I'll make sure, if you're not on our email list, go to billcaskey.com and get on our email list, because we'll be inviting people to that. It's going to be on December 6th, and it's going to be about 2024 business planning. So some of these things that I just talked about are going to be in that session. We're going to go deeper into it. You also need a 30-day plan. So you got the 3 to 5 year, longer term, you got the 1 year, you got the 30-day plan. 30-day plans, how do you take your 1 year plan, break it off into chunks, and make sure that every 30 days you're making progress? It's not something that we usually do in sales training. I would say it's probably more important than the traditional Dimension 1 training where we're talking about conduct. Because if your plan is built right and it's constructed properly and you are committed to it, hey, nothing's going to stop you. You don't have to be perfect in the sales process. You just have to do the behavior. Most people don't have a plan. Number 2, part of Dimension 2, asset thinking. You've probably heard me talk about this in videos and maybe on LinkedIn videos, this idea of asset thinking. And I'm starting to get some people calling me and saying, this is exactly what we need. We need to be looking at our personal assets and how they impact our ability to grow our business. And I've said for a while now that if you want to reach your potential, and who knows what that is, and I know it changes. You get to one level and you say, oh, that was pretty easy. I'll get to the next level. So it's always a work in progress. But generally, you will get to your new potential by better deploying the assets you already have, rather than going out and finding new assets. A good example is how I'm filming this today. I'm filming this on a iPhone, I think it's 13, extra large 13. I've tried cameras. I've tried DSLRs. We've tried movie cameras, video cameras. This is the best look and shot. Now, could I, if I weren't shooting video, but said, you know what, I want to start shooting video, I need an iPhone 15 or 18 or whatever it is now, I always say, well, you're not shooting it on your current iPhone. You probably have cameras all around here. Everybody's got video camera. You're not shooting it now on those. So what makes you think by buying a new phone you're going to do it? You're not. You're not using the assets that we have. Same thing goes with the tools we have, whether it's Google Docs or Evernote or our computer. I mean, good Lord, we only use 5% of what our MacBooks or computers are capable of, and we want the next greatest thing. Well, we're not using 95% of what we have. Same thing with our personal assets. Once you start to identify what your assets are, your assets could be things like your personal interests, your experience in the marketplace. You've solved big problems for people. Your way of doing business, your models, your frameworks, your sales process is a way of doing business. It's how you see the world, and that's an asset for you. I think we typically in the West think of assets as hard financial, homes, real estate, boats, cars. Those are heavy assets. I'm not talking about those things. I'm talking about the light assets that can make the difference between you earning $100,000 and $1 million. A car's not going to help you get to $1 million. This kind of stuff is. So start thinking assets rather than strategies. Think about what do you have in your possession, mentally, emotionally, and physically, that you're not using very well, and start using it better. Number 3, belief work. Nobody talks about this. Now, I shouldn't say nobody. Nobody in the sales realm talks about belief work, or if they do, they talk about it in passing. And to me, it provides the foundation for everything that we do and everything we accomplish. And our beliefs need to be we need to be constantly mindful of how we see the world and what we believe about the world and what we believe about ourselves in the world. And if we're not, we will go down rabbit trails and we will show up in a way that doesn't attract people. So for example, here's one example. We have what we call the fundamental shift as part of the Caskey curriculum. And the fundamental shift is that there is a fundamental mental shift in thought that if we accept it and embrace it, it changes everything in the sales process. One element of that, is the concept of abundance. We must be thinking about our world from a position of abundance, because the alternative to that is we look at the world in a place of scarcity. There's only so much to go around. Geez, look at my pipeline. I've only got 3 people in it. It's a scarce world. No, it's not a scarce world. It's an abundant world that you just haven't tapped into yet. So don't give me this stuff about the world. My world is scarce. No, nobody's buying now. No, they're not buying. Maybe they're not buying the way you're selling. Maybe they're not buying the value as you've positioned it, but people are buying. They're buying to solve problems. They're buying to grow their revenue. To me, recessions or those times where we're kind of teeter-tottering like now, and are we in it? Are we not? Are we heading for it? Are great times to look at your message and tweak it for the customer, for the people who are considering buying in this time of upheaval and chaos. So belief work is vital, because if I believe the market is abundant, I'm not going to be stressed. I'm not going to bring that stress to the sales process. Have you ever been called on by a stressful salesperson who probably is fearful of their job? They're probably attached to the outcomes. They probably live in a constant world of lack and scarcity. How fun are they to do business with? How much do you really say, we got to figure out a way to work with this dude who's really thinking scarcity, lack? We love this kind of thinking around here. No, it never happens. You're more likely to say that with an abundant person. You know what? I don't want to buy that from him, but I like his vibe. Let's bring him on board, or let's see what we can do with him or her. So your belief work is vital to you changing your habits, changing your subconscious, because that's where beliefs come from. We aren't consciously thinking of our beliefs. We aren't consciously thinking of, well, we got to think abundantly today. We don't think about that. And plus, how do you do that? If you've lived 45 years, 75, you're probably not watching this if you're 75. If you've lived 50 years in a state of scarcity and lack, and you might even have done well with that thinking, but it might be taking its toll on you physically or emotionally or burnout, grind out. But if you can think abundantly, everything changes. That's just one example of a belief change. So look at your beliefs. And I know it's difficult to do. We need to do more on this. And I might even do some kind of a master class on belief change, because more people are talking about it now. And I think it really applies to we salespeople. So 3 things in dimension 2. Number 1, be a master planner. Take time. Take time every month to plan your next month. We're actually doing it today. Travis and I are spending an hour today talking about the next quarter, or the next month, October, November. So do that. Number 2 is be an asset thinker. Don't be a sales thinker. Be an asset thinker. When you use your assets, you make more money. When you just make more calls, you may or may not make more money. And step 3 is belief work. Make sure you're understanding how you believe, what you believe. If something in your world is not working out the way you want it to, I know this is the way for me. When I look at something it's not working, it's always belief. It's not just self-belief. It's belief in my role. It's belief in the prospect's ability to pay, whatever those things are. I hope that helps you. One more time, this broadcast authorized and brought to you by the $1 Million Seller Checklist. Handful of things that I think if you're really looking to grow your business next year, you should go to billcaskey.com/checklist, or in the show notes, the direct link to that is there. I've enjoyed it today. I'm glad you're with me. Stay tuned. More of this. See you next time. Bye.